So why are we having a human connection celebration today? Well, before I tuck into exactly the answer to that question, I invite you to consider what it's like for you before you go on a trip. Are you the type of person who does a great deal of planning and you like to be structured and to know what restaurants you're going to eat at, or where your accommodation is going to be, or exactly how long your trip is? Or are you more of the fly by the seat of your pants type of person who will buy a one-way ticket and then just figure everything out based on the people who you meet or based on the recommendations that arise as you're in the midst of the adventure? I ask because about 7 years ago, I was on a journey myself, and that begins the reason why we're here to celebrate today. So as many of you know, I was traveling in Europe, actually, back in April of 2017. I had the really good privilege of being selected as a presenter at a creativity conference in Italy. And at that time of my life, I was going through a bout of depression, dealing with some struggles and not feeling my full vivacious self. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to just create a 30-day challenge for myself, like a human connection challenge that I called the Talk to More People project. And what I decided to do was just to intentionally meet one new stranger every day for a month to see what would happen. And so I set up like a Facebook page. I didn't even have a website. And I just would document my journey of meeting people through little mini interviews, through taking some pictures when people were okay with that, and then put up a little post online. And while I was doing that, my business coach, Karen, at the time, she said, Tony, if you want to make an impact with this, don't do it every day for a month. Do it every day for a year. And I was like, Karen, that is insane. That's just way too big of a challenge. I couldn't possibly do that. And don't you know, that's exactly what I did, right? So I did, in fact, go on this journey of intentionally meeting strangers. And it profoundly helped me with my mental health, helped me get off antidepressants, helped me with my finances, helped me with my business, introduced some of the most important people to me in my life today, more than 6 years later, who are still in my life, including my partner, Renee, who I met on day 305, including this friend, True, who's playing a concert on Friday night at the in-person version of this celebration. I met him on day 142. So some amazing people came into my life. And on the 365th day, in my living room in Kensington, Calgary, Alberta, Canada, I met this man named Mike. In my living room, I met a stranger because he was working for the telephone company and he was doing some work on the internet. We had a conversation, and that wrapped up this big project of intentionally meeting strangers on April 12th, 2017, 6 years ago today. And so I thought it's about time I throw a bit of a celebration, a bit of an acknowledgement of that journey of human connection, because as you likely noticed, there was a pandemic and the world slowed down. And in the midst of that pandemic, when people were told not to get together and not to connect in person, I published a book that said, get together and meet and talk face to face. This is how we can improve our lives. And quite frustratingly for me, it wasn't like hugely well received, in January of 2021. And also, because the publishing process can take a lot of energy, I actually felt quite depleted after publishing the book. And so I haven't really done a lot of events since publishing until recently. And so now we cut to this day where I do actually feel like the world is ready to receive the message that not only can having human connection in your life be very good for your mental health, but it can actually literally extend your life. And there's tons of research to prove that. My colleague Richard is likely aware of the Harvard study of adult development, which is a more than 80-year-long study that proves that the number one factor that will predict the longevity of your life is the quality of your social connections in midlife. That's more important than whether or not you're an intense heavy smoker, or more important than whether or not you're like a heavy drinker. It's the social connections midlife that matter the most. So I invite you now to put on your metaphorical backpack and begin this journey today with me and with the wonderful people who have joined us in this meeting, because although these conversations may just be pleasant, worst case scenario, they'll be just pleasant, you're going to get into some spaces where you might meet someone who could profoundly change your life. And so I invite you to just be open to that as we go into the breakout rooms to do this networking, is not just in the space that you're holding with the person who you're with, but also to consider when you're out there in the real world, not here in the virtual space, that we have these opportunities to have life-changing transformational experiences from connecting with new people, and that it's profoundly good for us and also for the people who we connect with if we allow ourselves to do so. So with that, I wish you an absolutely wonderful adventure, and I thank you so much for your attention. Right on. And with that, I will stop this little recording.